The Gamblers Fallacy. It is also often called the Monte Carlo Fallacy, which is a term coined after the events of August 18, 1913 in Monte Carlo. On this fateful day, gamblers lost millions of francs due to one of the most improbable events in history. The Gamblers Fallacy relates to a mistaken belief that past events in a random sequence influence the likelihood of certain future outcomes. It's the idea that if a particular event has not occurred for a while, it will be more probable to happen soon. This assumption would be accurate if we consider drawing a deck of cards, for example. Draw an ace and set it aside. The chance of drawing another ace is now lower compared to any other card, as there are now less aces in the deck. The Gambler's Fallacy is only applicable to independent events though, like the belief that a flipped coin is more likely to land on heads after multiple tails. In reality, the coin's behavior remains independent of past outcomes, making each flip a 50-50 chance, regardless of the previous results. So the question stands, how did all those gamblers lose millions of francs? Unbelievably, during a game of roulette, the ball landed on black 26 times in a row, marking the longest streak of black ever recorded. If you didn't know, a European roulette wheel contains an equal number of red and black pockets, 18 of each, along with a single green zero. Thus, the chance of the ball landing on black in a single spin is 18/37. The chances of the ball landing on black 26 times, though, is 18/37 to the power of 25, an unbelievably small chance of 1 in 66.6 million. Fun fact, all the numbers on a roulette wheel add up to 666. Make of that coincidence what you will. 1 in 66.6 million might seem astronomically high, but it comes across as just an everyday occurrence in comparison to the other improbable events discussed in this video. On August 30th, 2014, fisherman Joe Bates discovered what researchers consider a 1 in 100 million find, a crystal lobster. Obviously, it is not literally made out of crystal. The rare shell condition is sometimes caused by a genetic mutation similar to leucism, which results in a partial loss of pigment in the shell. Then, on Thursday, just a couple of miles to the northwest of the original find, lobsterman Brad Philbrick caught a second crystal lobster. But this is just a fun fact, and we will actually leave this one out of the probability equation and only focus on Joe Bates, because he actually managed to find another lobster just 3 days later. In one of his traps, he found a yellow lobster, which has a chance of 1 in 30 million. Exact numbers are obviously hard to acquire, but using the main Live Lobster website, we can estimate that Bates probably caught around 5,400 lobsters in those 3 days. And this is being generous. If my calculations are correct, and please shoot me a comment should they not be, then this results in a probability of 4.9 times 10 to the power of -9, or an unbelievable 1 in 205 million chance. I will be honest with you, the next story is subjected to a lot of doubt by golf professionals, and I've read countless blog posts and articles to determine if this story really is real or fake. In the end, it can't really be determined for sure, but since there were 3 witnesses, all of them in the army, I'm willing to give Patrick Wills the benefit of the doubt. Patrick Wills is a 65-year-old amateur golfer and retired Marine. Most average players get 1, or at most a few holes in 1 in their lifetime. Amazingly, Patrick Wills got 22 in his 47 years of playing. They all happened during tournament play, 18 of them on par 3s and 4 of them on par 4s. A par 3 hole means you probably need 1 strike to reach the green, so near the hole, and then 2 putts to get the ball into the hole, equaling 3 strikes. Par 4 holes most likely need 2 full strikes and 2 putts. Those 22 holes in 1 are not the reason Patrick Wills is featured in this video. In 2015, he was competing in a tournament at Laurel Hill Golf Club in Virginia, together with his sons Charlie and Christopher, both members of the armed forces, as well as Air Force Major Matt Gormley. In this particular tournament, he emerged as victorious by achieving an astonishing 3 holes in 1 during a single round. He hit an ace on holes 7, 10 and 14. According to Boston University mathematician Francis J. Scheid, in collaboration with Golf Digest, the probability of a golfer of Patrick's ability to get a hole-in-one is estimated at 5,000 to 1. The odds of getting 2 holes in one in the same round shoot up to 67 million to 1, so roughly the same odds as our roulette incident. Then, Willis achieved another one, this time on a par 3. The odds of acing 3 holes in one are an incredible 2 billion to 1. This is so incredibly unlikely that it is hard to imagine that the next stories will all top those numbers. Hampshire electrician Mike Dermott had even more luck in June 2002 when he won £194,501 on the UK National Lottery after correctly choosing 5 numbers and the bonus ball. The odds for that are 2,330,636 to 1. He was just shy of the jackpot. But he didn't win just once. Mike won again on the 5th of October with the exact same 5 numbers and bonus ball that he had in June, having continued to play them out of habit. He picked up another £121,157, taking his total winnings to £315,658. The odds of the same 6 correct numbers coming up at random again are 2,330,636 squared, which comes out to over 5.4 trillion to 1. Another remarkable coincidence involving the lottery occurred in Belmont, California in 2002. Angelo and Maria Galina managed to hit the lottery twice in the same day. They won the Super Lotto Plus and the Fantasy 5. For the record, the odds of winning the Super Lotto Plus are 1 in 41.4 million, and the odds of winning the Fantasy 5 are 1 in 576,000. Multiplying those numbers yields a chance of roughly 1 in 24 trillion. To be fair, they did spend $124,000 on lottery tickets in the last 17 years, $20 a day to be exact. So it was more likely for them to win at all, but winning twice in the same day? 1 in 24 trillion is a number so small and unlikely, it is becoming harder and harder to beat. Sadly, I have to admit I wasn't really able to find a probability number for the next event at all, and calculating it myself is beyond my capabilities. But just know that what happened to Ann Hodges is estimated to happen to a person in the US every 9,000 years. It was the afternoon of the 30th of November in 1954. People in Georgia, Mississippi and East Alabama reported seeing a quote, bright reddish light, like a Roman candle trailing smoke. Others described it as quote, a fireball, like a gigantic welding arc. Many of the reports were actually concerned it was a plane or, given the Cold War, possibly even a missile. The fireball arced across the sky before striking the ground in Sylacauga, Alabama. To be more precise, it smashed through the roof of a rented house. Inside the house, Ann Hodges was lying on the sofa when a 3.8 kilogram meteorite shot through the roof, hit her radio console, bounced off and struck her in the abdominal area. Don't worry, she was more or less fine and later got into a lawsuit with the landlord about who gets to keep the meteorite. There are researchers that believe they found the earliest evidence of a person being directly killed by a meteorite in 1888, based on letters found in Turkish archives. However, the lack of absolute confirmation of the historical accuracy of the event makes Ann Hodges the only person in recorded history ever to have been confirmed to have been directly struck by a meteorite. Roy Sullivan was also struck by a natural phenomenon, but he was struck a total of 7 times. He was an American park ranger in Shenandoah National Park in Virginia. Roy was first hit by lightning in 1942 while he was in the fire lookout tower. The tower was newly installed and had no lightning rod yet, which caused it to be struck and lit on fire. Roy managed to escape the raging fire in the lookout tower, only to be struck outside by lightning. It burned his right leg pretty badly and left a hole in his shoe. He had a few calm years before he was struck again 17 years later in July 1969, while he was in his truck. You might know, normally the metal body of the car protects people from lightning strikes by acting as a Faraday cage. But unfortunately, the lightning first hit nearby trees and was deflected into the open window of the truck. The strike knocked Sullivan unconscious, burned off his eyebrows and eyelashes, and set his hair on fire. The uncontrolled truck kept moving until it stopped near a cliff edge, a blessing in disguise. The next strike happened the very next year, in July 1970, in his front yard. The lightning hit a nearby power transformer and from there jumped to his left shoulder, searing it. In the spring of 1972, another lightning strike set his hair on fire while he was in a ranger station. Since then, he has always carried a can of water with him to extinguish his burning hair should he be struck again. The next 2 strikes happened in almost an identical way. Both times, Roy saw a thundercloud forming, tried to run or drive away from it, and was then struck during the escape. Both times, the water bottle helped extinguish his burning hair. His most impressive and last strike happened on June 25, 1977, while he was fishing in a freshwater pool. After the strike, the injured and burning ranger turned to his car to get his water bottle when something even more unbelievable happened. A bear approached the pond and tried to steal a trout from the fishing line. According to Sullivan, he still had the strength and courage to strike the bear with a tree branch he found nearby, despite the fact that his hair was on fire. He claimed that this was the 22nd time he hit a bear with a stick in his lifetime, although I could not find any evidence for that, so we'll just have to take his word for it. Fun fact, his wife was also struck by lightning once when she was outside hanging clothes in the backyard, but escaped mostly unharmed. Despite all the luck Roy Sullivan had, his life eventually came to a tragic end. What 7 lightning strikes couldn't accomplish, a .22 caliber bullet did in 1983. For unknown reasons, Roy Sullivan took his own life at the age of 71, just 6 years after his last lightning strike. The odds of being struck by lightning over the period of 80 years have been roughly estimated as 1 in 15,300. If the lightning strikes were independent events, the probability of being hit 7 times would be 1 over 15,300 to the power of 7, roughly 5 times 10 to the power of minus 30, or 1 in 196 octillion. To be fair, these numbers do not quite apply to Sullivan, who by the nature of his work and his physical location was exposed to more storms than the average person. Virginia, where he lived, averages 35 to 45 thunderstorm days per year, most of which fall in June, July and August. Between 1959 and 2000, lightning killed 58 people and injured at least 238 people in Virginia. Most of those were males between 20 and 40 years old, caught outdoors. This is a pure guess now, but if you adapt the chances from 1 in 15,300 to let's say 1 in 10,000, the chances of being struck by lightning 7 times are still 1 in 10 octillion. That is a 10 followed by 28 zeros. To demonstrate how unbelievably big, or in the context of chance, small this number is, the number of seconds that have passed since the Big Bang is roughly 4 times 10 to the power of 17. The universe would need to exist 250 billion times longer than it already has to reach an age equal to 10 octillion seconds. There's one thing that we can all say happened with total certainty that is definitely more improbable than any of the previous events combined. We have all experienced it, and we all forget about the miracle it is. It is life. It's you. And me. And everyone else watching this video. What are the odds that you exist as you today? Not somebody else, not someone who is almost like you. What are the odds of exactly you existing? The following segment is based upon the research of Dr. Ali Benazir, who works at Harvard and has degrees from Harvard, San Diego School of Medicine, and Cambridge. So, let's start. This is your dad. He hopefully is a lovely man, and he has the potential to meet up to 200 million women. But in reality, over 25 years, he probably met around 10,000. So the odds of your mom being in this small group of women makes the chance of your parents even meeting at all 1 in 20,000. Don't get excited, they haven't spoken yet. The chance that they speak, that turning into another meeting, and that turning into a long-term relationship is each 1 in 10. At that age, the chance that they stay together long enough to get kids is a surprising 50%. This makes the total chance of your parents meeting and that resulting in kids a whopping 1 in 2,000. So we already have a chance of 1 in 40 million. But we now have to get into rather uncomfortable topics. Your mom produced around 100,000 eggs in her lifetime, and your dad a staggering 4 trillion sperm during the years when you could have been born. If any other sperm had fertilized the egg that you developed from, then you would not have been born. Instead, someone else with 75% of your genes would have been born in your place. So the chance of the right egg meeting the right sperm to make exactly you is 1 in 400 quadrillion. Don't get excited though, we are far from finished. You consist of a gene pool that has been passed on for thousands of generations, because every one of your ancestors managed to live to reproductive age, going all the way back not just to the first Homo sapiens, first Homo erectus and first Homo habilis, but all the way back to the first single-celled organism. You and I are representatives of an unbroken lineage of life going back 4 billion years. What are the odds that your lineage remained unbroken for the length of human existence? We're getting into real rough estimates now, but there's about a 1 in 2 chance that a child will be born, grow, and manage to reproduce per generation. Repeat the chance for 150,000 generations, and you get a chance of 1 in 10 over 45,000. That number is not just infinitely larger than the number of all the particles in the universe, it is larger than all the particles in the universe if each particle were itself a universe. But we are still not finished. Every single one of your ancestors had to combine the right sperm with the right egg to pass on the exact genes needed to make you. To account for all 150,000 generations, we raise 400 quadrillion to the 150,000th power. The probability is about 1 in 10 to the power of 2.64 million. To complete the analysis, we now just have to combine all the probabilities together. 10 to the power of 2.64 million times 10 to the power of 45,000 times 40 million equals 4 times 10 to the power of 2,685,007. So, rounding down, the probability of you existing at all is about 1 in 10 to the power of 2,685,000. But wait a minute, isn't that kind of cheating? Is it not cheating to look at an outcome of an event, something that has already happened, and say, wow, what a coincidence that this is here? Because you've chosen to force the coincidence, the result isn't incredibly unlikely, but 100% certain, right? To explain this, let's get back to our roulette table. Yes, the chance of the ball landing on black 26 times is indeed 1 in 66 million. But so are the odds of 13 consecutive black, followed by 13 consecutive red, or 7 red, 6 black, then 3 red, then 5 black and 5 red. So is every other unremarkable combination. No combination of random events is more likely than any other. We are just attracted to the outcomes that fit the rules of the game we've made up around them. If you look out your window, you might see a line of 10 parked cars. Seeing a row of cars in these exact colors, red, red, blue, black, silver, green, red, white, 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 is pretty unlikely. Once you factor in that the first is a BMW, the second is a Mercedes, etc., the chances are even more remote. Add in the precise number plates of each, and the odds are astronomical. But despite those chances, you wouldn't just rush out and call the Guinness Book of Records, right? Those cars are simply a combination of random events, and you force the coincidence. If you had written down on a piece of paper 3 years ago the sequence of cars outside your window today, and been right, now that would have been a coincidence. Earlier I said, we are just attracted to the outcomes that fit the rules of the game we've made up around them. In this case, or the case of the roulette table, you could argue that those outcomes are certain patterns that are in some way unique or untypical. Seeing 10 cars of the same type and color would be unique and untypical. The ball landing on black 26 times is unique and untypical. So can anything untypical be considered a genuine coincidence, even though it might have the same chance of happening as any other similar event? I say yes, it can. You as a human could never have been born if your father had waited in a supermarket line just 3 seconds longer on the day you were conceived. You as a human could never have been born if your grandma hadn't had the courage to go approach the young handsome man in the cafe that would eventually become your grandpa. Someone else would watch this video instead of you right now, and he would have the exact same chances of being born as you. But he's not watching it, you are. And since you have existed, do exist, and will exist exactly one single time in this vast universe, you are the literal definition of unique and atypical, which in my eyes makes you the greatest and most wonderful coincidence of them all. Thanks for watching.